Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, Nevada's #1 prosecutor, Ray Hagar, has the rundown.
Thanks, Sam. Today's guest is Attorney General Brian Sandoval, who's awaiting to be appointed a federal judge.
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Michael Hackett, Paul Enos, and Marlene Lockard. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seem to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, welcome to the program, the Attorney General of the great state of Nevada, Brian Sandoval. Pleasure to have you back on the show.
Great to be back. Thank you.
Okay, let's start out with federal judgeship confirmation.
Yes.
What is it like to be sitting here waiting, watching all the craziness in Washington over seeing what's going on with these appellate judges?
Well, you just have to be respectful of the process. You know, it has been a long one, and I've followed, obviously, the filibuster very closely, and, you know, I'm just waiting to get a phone call from the Senate Judiciary Committee.
So what would happen next?
Then I would go before the Senate Judiciary Committee and be probed and ask questions and hopefully receive a favorable vote. Then would go to the Senate floor and would hopefully receive a favorable vote there.
How do you prep for this?
You really don't. You know, you don't know what to expect. I submitted an answer, a response, a 50-page questionnaire, and so they will most likely ask me questions about that.
Brian, a recent Supreme Court decision allows for the arrest and prosecution of people who use medicinal marijuana.
Yes.
Do you see the Attorney General's office in Nevada prosecuting any medicinal marijuana users?
Not at all. Not at all. And you raise a very important distinction there. What that law did is essentially confirm what our office already does and what the state of Nevada does, which is let people know that who participate in the program that they are subject to federal prosecution. And so for us, this really didn't change anything. From a state perspective, it is not illegal to smoke medical marijuana. From a federal perspective, it is. And so if you are a user of medical marijuana, this confirms for you that you could be subject to prosecution by the federal authorities, the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting because in California, which is in many ways somewhat more liberal than Nevada, to say the least. There's already somewhat of a crackdown. And it's a front-page story in the New York Times today.
Yes, and there's a little bit of difference in the law between Nevada and California. You know, you hear about, or let me put it this way, in Nevada, a provider of the marijuana can only be a care provider for the person who's using it, and they can only provide to one person. Whereas in California, you have those places where people go, and there's a term for it, and I can't recall it right now, where you can go and they can provide to multiple people. So Nevada took a very narrow, focused approach versus the state of California. But indeed, if the U.S. Attorney and the FBI chose to investigate and prosecute here, they could do so under this new Supreme Court decision.
Okay.
First subpoena is to be issued in the Yucca Mountain email investigation.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on where we are at this point?
I think it's fabulous, and it will continue to confirm what we felt.
I've never heard an Attorney General say something is fabulous before.
No, it's a great thing because it confirms what we've felt all along, is that this project has been a boondoggle from the beginning. These emails have disclosed that they were faking the science associated with Yucca Mountain. The individual who's been subpoenaed is somebody who has not been cooperating, so Congressman Porter is calling him in front of the committee. So I look forward to him being probed and asked many questions.
You know, doesn't it strike you as unbelievable, the arrogance of both the folks who are faking the information on Yucca Mountain? It's right up there with the Enron folks who knew that they were being recorded on the telephone and knew that their emails were being monitored, and yet were actually committing these criminal acts in abundance.
Well, and now with my experience with Yucca Mountain, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. And we feel that we struck the fatal blow last summer with regard to our legal victory in the courts with regard to the radiation standard. But again, now these other issues are starting to pop up that I think completely undermine the credibility of the program, and we will be able to draw even more out when the Department of Energy files its application with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and that will give us another venue to, again, undermine everything they're trying to show that is valid with regard to the Yucca Mountain project.
And Senator Reid put out a piece yesterday that says that they've cut the funding for the Yucca Mountain project by half again.
Yes, yeah, and I applaud Senator Reid and our entire congressional delegation for what they've done on the federal front. And, you know, piece by piece, this thing is going to collapse, you know, under its own weight.
So bottom line, Yucca Mountain as a nuclear site is a dead duck?
Well, I've said that publicly. I feel it's going to take, I feel that way. I think it's going to take some time, but we've gotten under what is, I feel, the most important legal component is the radiation standard, which is the time within which they have to isolate the radiation that will, not if, will come out of that mountain. And so until they can develop a standard, which they can't do because the geology at Yucca Mountain is an afterthought. So, you know, you've got the question of the canisters. We could go on and on and on. But yes, I feel that ultimately they're going to have to find another solution.
Do you think that they're going to end up with temporary storage in Utah?
They could. You know, you have the tribe there that is willing to take the waste for an amount of money. They've been licensed for that, and the state of Utah is now seeing what Nevada has had to deal with for decades, and ultimately that could happen. But they're, you know, starting to look toward Nevada to get some guidance as to how they fight the federal government.
And yet they had not been supporting us in our fight.
No, not at all. And, you know, you get into the NIMBY thing, which is nobody wants it, and everybody wants to put it in Nevada. But again, they're starting to recognize that now Nevada has become emboldened and is starting to win some victories, and the federal government and the Department of Energy is looking for other solutions in other states, and suddenly they know they're wearing the same pants that we've worn for so long.
And the industry itself is now taking steps to see what they can do about storage on site, because they realize this is not going to happen for many, many years.
Right, and as a practical matter, the truth of it is that they're already licensed to store it on site for the next 100 to 200 years. They've already have the facilities, they're secure, and I was reading an article in Time magazine that questions the security at some of the nuclear power plants, but in essence they are secure. I think it is much more to secure it on those plants rather than transport it across the country to the state of Nevada.
Let's take a time out. We'll be back with the Attorney General of the great state of Nevada. Much more coming up right after this.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community. But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%.
lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
If it's fun, it's here at the Peppermill, the $100,000 video-themed slot celebration, with more winners each week, 100 random winners every Monday and Wednesday, and more cash prizes, $6,000 random drawings every Friday, plus chances to win up to $1,000 in free slot play on Mr. Money's Challenge. You'll have more fun with the Peppermill's video-themed slot celebration, now worth over $100,000.
The slots that rock are at the Peppermill. Where are you winning?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers with the Attorney General of the great state of Nevada, Brian Sandoval.
Brian, last December, your office fired your chief investigator, Linda Honey, and it was reported in the media that she was let go because it was discovered she had a felony conviction in her past. She contends that she was always open to past mishap in her life. So why did you fire your chief investigator?
Well, and her name's Linda Honey.
Excuse me, okay.
And suffice it to say, we're in litigation right now. We don't comment on pending litigation. We don't comment on personnel matters. But certainly this is a matter that, we felt that was justified, and the courts will bear that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Governor Gwynn's rebate plan, as an attorney, as the AG, as a future judge, do you see any court challenge in this plan? Because there seems like an inherent inequity in it. If you have a car that was an old clunker, you're going to get $75 back at least. If you don't have a car at all, you're going to get $75 back. There's all sorts of tiers on how much money you get back depending on what kind of car that you register. Do you see this as a possible challenge?
There could be a challenge. And as you know, every law that is passed by the legislature is presumed to be constitutional, and it's presumed to be legal. Ultimately, if it is challenged, it'll be our office that defends the constitutionality of that, and we'll defend it vigorously.
Okay.
Well, speaking of that, what about the property tax cap? I mean, interesting situation there. Everybody's supposed to be taxed equally, business as well as private, and yet we have a 3% cap and an 8% cap. The irony, of course, is that no business person is going to complain about that because their taxes would likely be 28 or 30%. What's your thought on this and the constitutionality of that particular issue?
The same analysis. We presume, the legislature does a lot of work. They have a very, very bright staff and a large staff to research these things. Any law that comes out of the legislature is presumed to be constitutional, and it's presumed to be legal. If there's somebody out there who wants to challenge it, again, it'll be up to our office, the Office of the Attorney General, to defend the constitutionality of that. But, I'm going to do my job, which is to defend the law of the state of Nevada.
Would it be difficult to do that? Because on the surface, it certainly doesn't look...
on the surface, and that's the key point that you say, is that a lot of people say that superficially, but the legislature, and again, I have a profound respect for the lawyers over there. They aren't going to pass something or approve something willy-nilly, knowing that later on it could be defeated or would be unconstitutional.
Brian, now, with your nomination as a federal judge, it came from Senator Harry Reid. The talk is that perhaps that Senator Reid nominated you to clear you out of any future political competition with him or anybody else in his family?
And there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, Ray, and the fact of the matter is it was a joint recommendation to the president by Senator Reid and by Senator Ensign, and as I've told people, it's not like I went kicking and screaming. This was the opportunity of a lifetime for an attorney. It is the ultimate in terms of the legal profession. I saw it as an opportunity that would not come again, and in a way that certainly I could serve the people of this state and the people of this nation for life. It is a lifetime appointment, and I couldn't think of a higher calling and a higher measure. But this was the second time you were offered this.
Yes.
So you did turn it down once.
I did.
What was the difference between then and now?
At the time, this was several years ago, and the bottom line is this, is I didn't feel that I was in a position professionally to take on something like that, and I didn't think that I could serve the people of this state in the way they should be served.
Okay. Should Nevadans be concerned that we don't have a new nomination for the Attorney General? It seems like the closer we get to the election, the less attractive this interim Attorney General's job seems to be.
And I don't think they should be concerned at all. First and foremost, I'm still at the helm, and things are running well, and I will, I'm not doing anything.
You haven't cleared out your desk yet?
No, absolutely not. Pictures are on the wall, etc. The staff at the office is fabulous, and if somebody comes in late in the process, then we've got people on board who can run the office very well and assist this person when they come in. And as I've told folks, whoever comes in there is going to get the keys to a Ferrari because the office is running well.
You guys are way overpaid.
No,
the governor drives a Chevrolet.
No, I'm very proud of the people at our office and the work that's been done. And I've worked very hard in the last 2.5 years to recruit very aggressive and competent prosecutors, people in specialties throughout the office.
In the past, your office's relationship with the Board of Regents was not good. How has it been since Jim Rogers has taken over as Chancellor?
It's been excellent. And I sat down with the Chancellor, toward the end of the open meeting law disagreement. I sat down with Danny Claich, who's their new General Counsel. We had a fabulous meeting. We ultimately reached an agreement that essentially agreed to fix all the issues that we were concerned about. And now there's a great relationship where if they have a question, they call our open meeting law deputy before something occurs to make sure that they're following the open meeting law. So I have nothing but great things to say.
About the open meeting law, it affects almost all government bodies except the legislature. And the legislature is the body that makes up the law. So why is the legislature excluded from the open meeting law? When you go down there, Carson City, it's like you got a secret meeting here, a Star Chamber meeting here. I mean, nothing is out in the open in the legislature.
Well, all I can say is the legislature makes the laws and the Attorney General enforces the laws. And we, again, they've decided to create that exception for them. But certainly with regard to the open meeting law, I believe that the public's business should be conducted in public, and that's why I've taken upon myself during the time I've been in office to be very aggressive with regard to the enforcement of the open meeting law. And I think people across the state have gotten the message.
I think they have. Yes. And we thank you for being here, and you're welcome back as soon as you want to come back.
Thank you. Whenever you say.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping. During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you. not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by employer links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and social security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And we're joined by our Power Pundit panel today, and we have a little change in lineup here. Paul Enos, unfortunately, was not able to make it today, but substituting for him, and a fine substitute, Reno Mayor Bob Cashel. We also have Michael Hackett here with Alrus Consulting and Marlene Lockard with Capital Strategies. Welcome to all of you. Okay, so Ray, I'm irate. I'm reading the front page of your newspaper this morning, and what in the world is the San Francisco Board of Supervisors getting involved in complaining about this proposed power plant in Gerlach that Sempra wants to put up?
It's out of their jurisdiction, Sam. I don't think they have a dog in the fight, and I don't know why that they should even be fighting about it. Although it does affect their constituency, but that's a Nevada problem.
They say that half of San Francisco empties out to go to Burning Man. What business is the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, Marlene?
Well, I think that clearly there are those that like the Gerlach Black Rock Desert the way it is, and they now have become, I would say, temporary citizens of Nevada during Burning Man. And it seems as if someone has gotten to people of influence to start speaking up to keep it the way it is and not alter that landscape there.
Has anyone ever been to Burning Man on this panel?
No, I haven't.
My wife is going this year. I will get the full report.
My son went and his wife went, and my son's wife won't go back.
To me, it just looks like a show of support. Nothing more, nothing less. And from what I understand, their next step is going to go to the Los Angeles City Council and try to solicit or elicit the same level of support. That
Have they forgotten about the energy crisis that occurred in California and that they need power, that the state continues to grow and they're going to continue to need power?
They want the energy as long as it's renewable.
Mayor Bob?
No, we like them coming up and enjoying it, and now that I know they've become part-time citizens, I might check the legislature and see if we can't tax them some way, put a little money in our coffers.
All right, let's change topics here. They're moving up the primary dates now to August. The governor signed the bill. How is this going to affect campaigns, Marlene?
Well, I think it's. I think the time that they selected in August is terrible. It's I think the county clerks, county registrars, legitimately needed more time between a primary and a general, especially with all of these initiative petitions. But I think folks were looking more in the July time frame or even earlier. In the middle of August in Las Vegas, the city empties out. I think that's going to really damage and have a poor impact on voter turnout at a time when we're trying to increase voter participation. I was really dismayed to see the August date selected.
I thought it would be a July, even a June, late June or July date. Exactly. Because, and it's going to help candidates to be able to, you don't have to spend as much money. I mean, you get into the race and you're going to have to go hard, but I thought it would be a June or July date.
I agree as well, too. I like the idea of allowing more time between the primary and the general election. I think that's very appropriate, but I also thought that it would have been an earlier time frame, even mid-June or even the 1st of June.
Does this affect the way people look at Nevada on a national scale?
Well, I'm not sure.
No, I wouldn't see why. Nevada had one of the shortest primary to general election time frames in the nation. I mean, that was from September to November was a very short general election cycle. And it was a huge burden to the county registrars, especially the more initiatives and challenges that have been taking place. So I don't see how on a national level this would negatively.
I don't think we gain anything out of it.
I mean, the only impact I could see is if other states start to follow suit and they start moving their primaries up, seeing what happens here in Nevada, whether it benefits the process in the general election or not.
Let's talk about Social Security. They're talking now about raising the age limit to 69. My question is that high enough, right?
I don't know if I'm going to make it to 69. I was already worried about making it to 67. I'm against it. I wish they'd start Social Security for people named Ray at 55.
Well, y'all don't mess with my Social Security.
No, and it's right, and it's not for 20 years or beyond, I'm sure. But shouldn't the Social Security age, start looking out? Would anybody have the political courage to put it up to where it was when it first started, which was that people weren't expected to live as long as the date when Social Security started, Marlene?
Well, I think that they are going to have to look at the age and increase to 69, even 70, to save the program. And I think that's going to have to take some real courage by the legislators in Washington to do that. And I also think that Social Security should be means tested. I think there are a lot of people receiving Social Security that really don't need that additional income.
She's picking on you, Mayor Bob.
No. She sure is. I only make $39,000 in the city now.
Well, that's right. So you qualify. But I think, it was a program to help those in need initially, and those that have taken other means to supplement their retirement. That's a means testing, and the age are tough issues. But I really think to save the program and put it back to what it was originally intended, to help those that have no other resources. We're going to have to take a look at that. What most folks don't realize is that you draw out in the first 3 years all the money that you put in.
Okay, and that's where we got to leave it.
We need those private accounts.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community. But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
And coming up tomorrow?
Well, Sam, we're going to talk about the sex offender bill with George Togliatti and Donna Coleman, and then we're going to have Lisa Foster from the governor's office to talk about the rebate.
And a full-length interview with Mayor Bob next week. We'll see you.
Thank you.